On 21st of May 1996, approximately 56 kilometers from Mwanza city in Tanzania, MV Bukoba sank in Lake Victoria, plunging into waters 25 meters deep. This resulted in the tragic loss of up to 1,000 lives. The ship's final voyage manifest indicated 443 passengers occupying the first and the second class cabins. Unfortunately, there was no manifest for passengers in the third class. So, what exactly happened? Back in the day, the journey from Bukoba to Mwanza by road was a rough one. The roads at the time were in a horrible condition, and so many people preferred to use the ferry services operating on Lake Victoria. The MV Bukoba made trips from Bukoba to Mwanza every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. The journey would typically begin at 10 p.m., and by the next morning, the passengers would be in Mwanza. On this particular Monday, 20th of May, the lake waters were smooth as the ship set sail to Mwanza. The next port of call was Kemondo Bay, just 20 kilometers away from Bukoba. The ship was going to stop for a while before continuing with its journey to Mwanza. When the ship docked at Kemondo Bay, hundreds of travelers who had been denied passage at Bukoba flooded in. They occupied any available space until there was no place to move. As MV Bukoba sailed to Mwanza, survivors reported that throughout the night there was a strong rocking motion, even though the lake was relatively calm. At 8 a.m., as they approached Mwanza, with just 30 minutes left until arrival at port, MV Bukoba tilted violently to the right. There are conflicting accounts as to what happened next. Some survivors said that when the ship tilted, huge jikos and dishes and kitchen equipment in the restaurants crashed to one side. The loud bang created a panic, and when people rushed to the deck, the vessel turned over. Others said that when the ship tilted to the right, the crew ordered the passengers to move to the other side. As they did this, the ship tilted badly to the left and capsized. At this point, some passengers in the first class jumped into the lake and attempted to swim to shore. Most of those in the second class and third class were unable to jump clear. The ship rolled onto its side and then overturned, trapping hundreds of passengers underneath. One of the survivors told of how he and another man managed to swim to an air pocket where they and a young girl clung to the ship to breathe the remaining air. There were so many bodies of women and babies and old people in the water. We were there for many hours. We banged on the hull with pieces of wood. At some point, the girl got extremely exhausted and let go. The first rescue ship took a whole hour to arrive. At the scene of the tragedy, they could hear people knocking on the hull of the ship, but there was no way of reaching them. One of the crew from the Tanzania Railway Corporation arrived with oxyacetylene torches. These were usually used to cut metals. Fishermen who were at the lake that day pleaded with them not to cut holes in the hull. However, they disregarded this advice, and one of the men began cutting the ship. 2 passengers managed to free themselves. He proceeded to cut a second hole. This proved disastrous. The air that had kept the ship afloat for all those hours was released. Shortly after 3 p.m. on Tuesday, May 21st, MV Bukoba disappeared into the waters of Lake Victoria. Rescue teams were flown from South Africa, Kenya, and Zanzibar to salvage the ship and retrieve bodies 25 meters underwater. The divers managed to extract several hundreds of bodies, but with great difficulties. People packed in the third-class compartment had linked arms in solidarity before they died, and this proved difficult to break them free. On the 2nd of June, President Benjamin Mkapa stopped any further recovery of bodies as it posed a health hazard to the divers. As there was no passenger list for the third-class passengers, the exact number of those who perished is unknown. A report by the Red Cross suggests that as many as 894 people perished. President Mkapa declared 3 days of mourning. Those who died were buried in mass graves in Mwanza. Other mourners conducted ancient rituals in which the relatives of the drowned victim weave a white shroud, weigh it with rocks, and lower it into the lake to appease the spirits of those who might claim others in the same way. Because of this disaster, people in Mwanza abstained from eating fish from the lake for a long time. On May 29th, the ship's captain, together with 8 other senior officials of the Tanzania Railway Corporation Marine Department, were charged in court for murder and were remanded in custody. The Prime Minister then appointed a commission of inquiry, which comprised of both Tanzanians and foreigners. The individuals in custody were, however, later released.